likes Roxanne, Roxanne. All she wanna do is party all night.
Alright, so welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing a new predictions, as everyone commented in videos they want to see a Ligue 1, and we're going to go straight into it. We're going to start off with Navas, and he's had a good season, of course, and you can see 21 games played because of course the season didn't finish, and 11 clean sheets, which is quite solid, but of course isn't as impressive as a lot of other players, just because it is in the Ligue 1 and also playing for PSG, so not many goals would be conceded anyway. But I definitely see him happening one. So next to him, I'd put Rulli, and there isn't many great keepers in the Ligue 1, so that's why I had to put him in, just to even it out, make him another keeper, and also another keeper that I know is quite solid. Would be a big upgrade, and also quite good for links, as Ligue 1 maybe not have the best defenders, but Argentina you can get maybe a Scream Otamendi in, so you know, quite good links there. Now on to another player who's already had a special card, and a special card SBC, and Marvi. Of course he had that foot to birthday, 5-star skill, 5-star weak foot left back, and he was a really good card. I remember I started a player review on him, but then I didn't feel like it was as good content as I wanted. But you can see on his stats, and you can see 83 clearances, which, remember last video we said Mats Hummels had one of the most clearances, and he's had even more now. And key passes 12, which is just so important. He's playing for left back. I know Robertson's probably got not as many, and Trent of course has got quite a few key passes. That's the type of players they are for him and Amavi. Now we're going to get into the next one. Another future stars is Kamara, and you see Kamara has got really solid tackles success rate, and it's 33, and this will be a really quite a solid card. You can see I've given him 87 pace, 91 defending, and 91 physical, and we were talking about maybe not the best defenders from the Ligue 1. Kamara is what shows how good they can be. Of course he could even get a right back card because he has been playing right back for Marseille, but so overall I think Kamara centre back card, 23 games played, 1 goal, 2 assists, very solid player. Also the future maybe off France's defence, maybe him, Pavard, you know, a couple players there. And we're into the next one is Marquinhos, a player who always gets it. It is Marquinhos, him, Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva I haven't put in this one just because I don't think he had the best season, but Marquinhos definitely deserves one. You see just on his stats already, an 86 rated, I'll boost him up to a 94, which seems very solid. He's always had a roughly 94-95 rated team this season, so I think it won't change now. But anyway, let's see the next team of the season, any other better ones. We're first into the first midfielders. Of course we're going to start off a player called Kamavia. I don't know this player as well, but as soon as I did my research, he looked like another one to look at in the future. A big upgrade from a silver 72 rated to an 87 rated team this season. Stats of course don't look the best, they look quite well rounded, I've given him, but in general they always need not a great card so people can pack him and be quite happy with getting a Ligue and Tots. But of course he's probably worth 50k, so they always need one of these cards, or a couple of these cards. Remember when we did the Bundesliga one, we had like a Volland and Rastrika, so there's always a couple of these cards. But of course if you do pack him untradeable, he's not the worst card in the world, so you can definitely use him in your team. Now moving on, Adrissa Ghana Guy. Of course this card has always been a really meta card, so at the beginning of the year I saw so many people have him. Of course it was quite hard to get links with, but if you could have a Mane, Koulibaly, roughly those type of players, you can definitely get some really good links in. And also last year when he played for Everton, I remember he was really OP then, and I can just see this card being every single team. Don't see it being too expensive, maybe 100k maximum, and a really good card. And he's moved to PSG, first season in, and 93% accuracy in passing, which is absolutely fantastic for any player, let alone a CDM who doesn't have to be as good at passing. But we move on, and another player who I roughly heard about, and is Gulavin, and I've put him down to centre mid because that's where he's been playing. He's playing more of a defensive role, and he would be in the Hullet gang. You can see 92 pace, 88 shooting. Already can play cam, could even play centre mid, and if you really want him, I would recommend them, but you could play him at CDM just because of his quite good defensive and physical stats, maybe with maybe a sentinel just to improve it, but looks like a really good card. And from centre mid to get that many goals, that many assists is quite solid, but it's not a guarantee just because there is probably a lot of other midfielders that could get ahead of him. But in general, I could definitely see this one being a really solid card. Now we're moving on to another OP card in the last couple of years, and remember him playing for Swansea, and every Premier League team had him in FIFA 18. It was Renato Sanchez, and another card who's already had a foot miss, but it looks like a really solid card, and I can't wait for this one to happen. Renato Sanchez has always been really OP in FIFA, and he's never had a big upgrade except from when he had the Euros games, of course, but this would be the best upgrade he would ever have. And you can see the stats. I don't believe that he is guaranteed, but at the same time, Ligue don't have as many midfielders as you would expect them to have, so we can hope for this one to happen, but at the same time, don't get your hopes all the way up because it's not guaranteed, like I said. But we'll move on and onto another midfielder. This one for me is a guarantee, is Aouar. And of course Aouar, and roughly in the beginning of the game, he did have a storyline card which no one picked because I was pretty sure it was him or Felipe Anderson, and everyone would pick Felipe Anderson just because of the OP prem and pace. And you can see 3 goals, 3 assists from a centre midfield player. Is not the worst, not the best though. Accuracy in passing though, 86%, another big number of course, and key passes 24, and that's the only reason why I can guarantee hopefully him being in here. And of course another player in the Hullet gang, so there's of course just keep on bringing them in. Hopefully EA does this one. And now onto a card which is a bit of an interesting one, Verratti. Would this card be usable even if he had a team of the season? I think probably not, just because you can't play him as a cam just because he doesn't have good pace or shooting. Can't play him as a CDM because his height and physicals could be a lot better. But as a centre mid, which a lot of people don't even use that formation for centre mid, that's the only reason why I can't see this card being usable. But I could definitely see this card coming out because EA do this card, everyone packs him, and they're like, yes, I got a team this season, but it's not a usable one. So it's like, which ones would you rather have? A usable one that's not as high rated as him, or so and so. But anyway, he's had a solid season for PSG, as he always does, the midfield maestro for them. Now Dimitri Payet, who has been in a bit of the shadows for the last couple of years since he's left West Ham, but now this season had quite a solid one. You see 6 goals, 4 assists in 21 matches, very solid. And of course those goals, which are even more impressive just because he's playing at left wing instead of a cam position, which you would expect more goals coming out, and that's why I did position him as a left wing. You see the stats I've given him as well, looks like an absolutely rocket at left wing. And also you could even play him at striker. I think a striker card for him would be very solid, and in general I think all West Ham fans would be crying to see this card happen, but would be a really solid card, and I can almost guarantee this one just because how solid he has been playing for Marseille. Of course, now we're moving on to the first of the actual attackers. I'm not really counting Payet just because he did have a cam card. So we're moving on to Di Maria. As you can see, his stats are there. 95 rated, which is a massive increase from his 86. And if this does come out with the best of team of the season, you could definitely see so many people getting so excited that they're going to pack Messi, and it's actually Di Maria. And you see 8 goals, 14 assists, which is just absolutely crazy for a right winger. Definitely can see this one happening, and I can't wait for it to happen. Be a really solid card. Now we move on to the next one, and it's maybe not as known, is Rafinha. Of course he's been used a lot for SBCs, well anyway for me anyway, just because he's Brazilian in the Ligue and gets a lot of links. But that card would be an immaculate super sub him, Kent coming out at the same time, absolutely fantastic. Now one that is definitely guaranteed and definitely you would want to pack this card is Ben Yedder. Now of course Ben Yedder's had player of the month, informs, multiple informs, ones to watches, an absolutely rocket player, best player in FIFA 20 base card, probably, just how OP he is, and definitely this card would be 1.5 to 2 million, just how good he is. And I can't wait for this one to happen as well, just because if you do pack him, he's going to be one of the best feelings ever. You can play him as a cam, centre mid, doesn't really matter where you play him, he'll be absolutely fantastic for you. Now we're actually going to move on to the big players now. You can see Ben Yedder of course is a very big player, and we're going to start with Osterman. I see this is another guaranteed one for me. 13 goals, 4 assists in 26 games. Of course everyone remembers he had a Future Stars, which was a really solid card as well, so this would be just a big upgrade on that. And I remember when initially he had a player of the month for the Ligue 1, now he's got a Future Stars, and it will be a big upgrade for, of course, from the 88 to a 90. So another card that I can't see being the most expensive, but a very OP one, none to say the least. Of course I reckon it'll be 200k to 300k, probably less, but 87 physicals as well, which is a big important stat for a striker, and 90 rated, really solid. Now we move on to the biggest card that will come out of this, and sadly I did not do Neymar back, and I only realised quite late that I didn't do Neymar, but we're gonna have to just stick with it and keep with Mbappe, and absolutely guaranteed. And as I said in my Premier League video, if you get a team of the year, you're guaranteed a team of the season. Anyway, that'll be all from me, and make sure to comment which league you want to see next. Of course there's La Liga, Serie A, even some other smaller leagues like the Ligue 1. Anyway, that'll be all from me. Peace.